The first message arrived at 2:13 a.m. David almost ignored it. He had learned over the years that messages that came that late usually carried something unpleasant. Bad news from work, spam, or silence disguised as conversation. His phone buzzed on the bedside table, vibrating against a stack of unread books he kept meaning to read, and he stared at the ceiling instead of reaching for it. Outside his apartment window, the city hummed the way it always did at night. Distant sirens, tires slicing wet asphalt, the low, constant breath of a place that never slept. David slept even less. He had learned how to exist in the quiet hours when the world pulled inward, leaving people alone with their thoughts. The phone buzzed again. This time, he picked it up. Unknown. I hope this isn't strange. I saw your comment under the photo. You seemed kind. David frowned slightly. He sat up in bed, rubbing his eyes. The glow from the screen cast his small bedroom in pale blue light. Unmade sheets, a cracked lamp, a framed photo of his parents taken before his father died. He hadn't posted anything remarkable. Just a comment on a travel photo. Beautiful place. I hope to see it one day. Kind. That word lingered. He typed back. David. Hi. I don't mind. How are you? 3 dots appeared almost instantly. Unknown. I'm trying to be okay. It's been a hard day. David hesitated. He could stop here. He should stop here. He had learned this lesson before. Don't invite strangers into your soft places. But loneliness is persuasive. It whispers that this time will be different. That this time, someone is reaching out because they truly see you. David. I'm sorry to hear that. What happened? There was a pause this time. Long enough that David thought maybe the conversation was over. Then the reply came. Longer. Heavier. Unknown. My mother collapsed this morning. The doctors say her heart is weak. I spent the whole day at the hospital. I don't know why I'm telling you this. I just needed someone to talk to. David's chest tightened. Hospitals. Weak hearts. He knew that language. He knew the smell of antiseptic, the sound of machines breathing for people who could no longer breathe on their own. He knew the way hope flickered and died under fluorescent lights. David. You're not wrong to talk. That's terrifying. Is she stable now? Another pause. Then. Unknown. For now. But they need money for further tests. I feel so helpless. David stared at the message. Helpless. That word cracked something open inside him. He typed carefully. David. I'm really sorry. You shouldn't have to face that alone. A minute passed. Unknown. Thank you. Most people don't care. Her name appeared then, almost casually, like an afterthought. Unknown. My name is Amara. David smiled despite himself. David. I'm David. That was how it began. Not with seduction. Not with promises. But with shared vulnerability, or at least the illusion of it. Days turned into nights. Amara messaged every day. Sometimes in the morning, when David sat at his desk pretending to work while emails piled up unanswered. Sometimes late at night, when the city dimmed and the walls of his apartment felt too close. She never flooded him with affection. She never pushed. She confided. Her family was always on the edge of disaster. One day it was her mother's medication. Too expensive, not covered, urgently needed. Another day it was her younger brother, reckless and unlucky, arrested for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Another night it was her father, distant and bitter, blaming her for things she couldn't control. She spoke in fragments, like someone too tired to fully explain. I'm exhausted. I don't know how much longer I can do this. Sometimes I wish someone would just hold me and tell me it will be okay. David read every word slowly. He imagined her sitting somewhere dimly lit, phone clutched in shaking hands, eyes rimmed red from crying. He imagined being the only light she had. He told himself he was just listening. But listening became caring. Caring became attachment. Attachment became need. The face behind the words. 2 weeks in, she sent a photo. It wasn't posed. That was the genius of it. Her hair was loosely tied back, a few strands falling around her face. No makeup, or very little. Her eyes looked tired but warm. The background was indistinct. Just a wall, maybe a window. Amara. I usually don't send pictures. I hope that's okay. David's heart pounded. She was beautiful, not in a polished, unreachable way, but in a way that felt honest. Like someone you might pass on the street and think about long after. David, you're beautiful. And yes, it's okay. She replied with a single heart emoji. It felt intimate, dangerous. The first ask, disguised as shame. She didn't ask for money right away. She complained. I hate even thinking about this. I don't want to burden anyone. I feel disgusting for worrying about money when my mother is sick. David reassured her every time. You're not disgusting. You're human. Anyone would struggle. One night, after a long silence, her message arrived. Amara, I don't know what to do anymore. The hospital says they can't proceed without a deposit. I'm scared. David swallowed. He stared at his bank app later that night, thumb hovering over numbers that represented years of careful living. He told himself it was temporary. He told himself it was help, not sacrifice. He sent the money. She cried, or at least, she said she did. Amara, I don't know how to thank you. You saved my mother's life. Saved. The word wrapped around his heart like a chain. What David didn't know. David didn't know that Amara was typing from a small rented room with 2 phones on the table. He didn't know that the hospital story had been used before, refined through dozens of conversations with dozens of men. He didn't know that her mother was alive, healthy, and living 3 cities away. He didn't know that the pauses in her replies were calculated, timed to trigger worry. He didn't know that kindness, to someone like her, was currency. To David, she was a woman in pain. To Amara, David was a resource. The hook tightens. As weeks passed, Amara grew warmer. She talked about dreams now, about wanting a peaceful life, about wanting to love and be loved without chaos. I've never had anyone like you. David believed her. He ignored the small doubts, the missed calls, the way she always had an excuse for why video chats weren't possible, the way every crisis ended just in time for a new one to begin. Because love, or what feels like love, doesn't arrive loudly. It arrives quietly, convincing you that protecting it is your responsibility. And David was already protecting her. David began measuring time differently. Before Amara, his days were divided by work hours, meals, sleep. After Amara, time bent around her messages. Morning didn't truly begin until he checked if she had written during the night. Night didn't end until she said she was safe, or at least pretending to be. She learned his rhythms quickly. She knew when he was most vulnerable. Late evenings, after the city quieted, when memories crept in. She knew when to disappear, too. Silence, he learned, was more powerful than words. The second crisis. It started with a voice note. Her voice was soft, trembling, threaded with exhaustion. David listened twice, then a third time, as if repetition might reveal something he missed. David, I didn't want to tell you this. I swear. But my brother, he's in trouble again. A pause. A shaky breath. He borrowed money from the wrong people. They came to the house today. I was so scared. I thought they would hurt my mother. David's chest tightened. David, text. Are you safe right now? The reply came slower than usual. Amara. For now. But they said if we don't pay by the end of the week. I don't know what will happen. David stood up from his couch and began pacing. This was different. Hospitals were tragic, but this felt immediate, dangerous, real in a way that triggered every protective instinct he had. David, how much are they asking for? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Amara, I can't ask you that. You've already done too much. I'll figure something out. Relief washed over him for half a second. Then panic replaced it. If she didn't ask, it meant she might disappear. She might get hurt. Or worse, she might think she was alone. David, please don't shut me out. Let me help. The reply came almost immediately this time. Amara, are you sure? I don't want to ruin you. Ruin. The word echoed. David, tell me the amount. She sent the number. It was more than last time. Enough to make his stomach drop. Enough to hurt, but not enough to destroy him. Not yet. He transferred the money. She responded with gratitude so intense it felt like love. I don't deserve you. I don't know how I'll ever repay you. You're the reason I still believe in people. David sat alone in his apartment, phone pressed to his chest, feeling taller, stronger, needed. He didn't see the trap tightening, the shift. After that, something changed. Amara became more affectionate, more present. She began calling him my safe place. She talked about the future, about meeting one day, about starting over somewhere peaceful. When all this is over, she wrote, I want to cook for you. I want to wake up next to someone who doesn't lie. David imagined it vividly. Her in his kitchen. Sunlight spilling across the counter. Normal problems. Shared laughter. He didn't notice that, when all this is over, never came. Small doubts. The first crack appeared on an ordinary afternoon. David had tried calling her 3 times. No answer. Hours passed. When she finally replied, it was casual. Amara. Sorry. Long day. I was helping my aunt. No explanation beyond that. David stared at the message longer than necessary. Something about it felt thin. But he brushed it aside. Trauma makes people vague, he told himself. Stress scrambles details. Still that night, he searched her name online. Nothing. No social profiles beyond the one they met on. No tagged photos. No family connections. He told himself she was private. She had to be. The third crisis. The one that should have broken him. This time, she didn't ease into it. Her message came in fragments. David. I'm shaking. My mother is back in the hospital. His heart sank. David. What happened? Amara. They say it's complications. They need immediate surgery. I don't have enough. David closed his eyes. Something inside him whispered, this is familiar. He ignored it. David. How much? She hesitated longer this time. Then sent a number that made his breath catch. It was too much. He didn't have it. Not without loans. Not without consequences that would last years. David. I don't know if I can. Her reply came instantly. Amara. It's okay. I understand. I shouldn't have told you. I'll figure something out. I just wanted you to know what's happening. In case something happens to me. Something happens to me. The phrase hit him like a punch. David sat frozen, staring at the screen. He imagined her crying alone in a hospital corridor. Imagined getting a message later, too late, telling him she was gone. Guilt wrapped around his throat. He took out a loan. He sent the money. She sent a crying emoji. Then a voice note filled with sobs and gratitude. I love you, David. It was the first time she said it. And it worked. The cost. The money left his account. The anxiety stayed. David began losing sleep. Bills piled up. His work performance slipped. Friends noticed he was distracted, distant. He stopped talking about Amara to anyone. Something about her felt too fragile to expose to skepticism. Or maybe, deep down, he knew what they would say. The near reveal. One evening, scrolling mindlessly, David saw a photo that stopped him cold. A woman. Same eyes. Same mouth. Different name. Different city. Different story. His heart began to race. He clicked the profile. It was private, but the profile picture was enough. Too much. David's fingers trembled as he messaged Amara. David. Can I ask you something? No reply. Minutes stretched. David. I came across a photo today. Someone who looks a lot like you. Still nothing. The silence was louder than any confession. David didn't sleep. He lay on his couch with the lights off, the glow of the city leaking through the blinds in thin, uneven lines. His phone rested face up on the coffee table, dark and accusing, like an object that might explode if touched. The silence wasn't empty. It was crowded. Every unanswered message carried weight now. Every minute stretched itself into something deliberate, something chosen. Amara had always replied. Eventually. Even when she vanished, she left breadcrumbs. A delayed apology. A rushed explanation. A sigh typed out as ellipses. This time, there was nothing. David checked the profile again. The woman in the photo smiled softly at the camera, sunlight touching her face in a way that felt intimate, unguarded. A candid moment. A real one. Different name. Different city. Same eyes. His heart hammered as if trying to warn him retroactively. He scrolled through the comments. Friends tagging her. Casual jokes. Birthdays. Ordinary life unfolding in public, uninterrupted by medical crises or predatory lenders. David felt dizzy. He wasn't just afraid of what the silence meant. He was afraid of what it confirmed. The next morning, Amara finally replied. Amara. I didn't know what to say. I was scared you'd hate me. David read it 3 times. Not I don't know who that is. Not you're mistaken. Not even you're wrong. Just fear of his reaction. David. I need you to explain. Minutes passed. Then. Amara. Some things are complicated. I never lied about caring about you. Caring. She always chose words that could survive reinterpretation. David. Is that you in the photo? A long pause. Longer than before. When the reply came, it was careful. Amara. Yes. But that's not the whole story. David felt something inside him go cold and still. The rewrite. Her explanation arrived in pieces, spaced out as if she needed time to build it while he waited. She said she used a different name online for safety. She said she'd moved recently and hadn't updated things. She said the people in the comments didn't really know her. She didn't address the hospital stories directly. David noticed that. David, is your mother sick? 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Returned. Amara. She has health issues. It's not always how I described it. Not always. David's chest tightened. David, did you need the money? Amara. At the time, yes. Things were hard. Hard. Not dangerous. Not life or death. Not urgent. Hard. David leaned back against the couch, staring at the ceiling. Every sacrifice replayed itself now with new subtitles. Every dollar he'd sent reframed. Every voice note recast as performance. David, were there really men threatening your family? This time, she didn't answer right away. When she did, the tone shifted. Amara, why are you interrogating me like this? After everything I've been through? There it was. The pivot. Victimhood reclaimed, not explained. David felt a strange calm settle over him. Not relief. Clarity. David, because I deserve the truth. Her reply came fast now, sharp with hurt. Amara, you think I planned this? You think I'm some kind of monster? I trusted you. Trusted. David almost laughed. The emotional counterattack. That night, she sent a voice note. Her voice trembled again, but now David could hear the seams. The controlled breaths. The pauses placed for effect. I never wanted to hurt you, she said. I was drowning. And you were there. You made me feel safe. Isn't that worth something? David closed his eyes. Safe. The word had been a gift once. Now it felt like a weapon. She followed with texts. Amara, I thought what we had was real. Amara, if you walk away now, you're proving everyone right about people. Amara, I guess I was stupid to believe in us. The hooks were familiar. Guilt. Responsibility. Moral pressure. David typed. Deleted. Typed again. David. What we had was built on lies. The reply was instant. Amara. So you're perfect? You've never hidden anything? He didn't respond. She tried again. Amara. I loved you in my own way. In my own way. David understood now. Love, to her, wasn't mutual presence. It was leverage. The escalation. 2 days later, the emergencies returned. Amara, I shouldn't tell you this, but things are bad again. David stared at the message, a bitter smile touching his lips. There it was. The pattern didn't even bother changing. David, I can't help you. The typing dots appeared and vanished repeatedly, like a heartbeat struggling to stabilize. Amara, so that's it. You abandon me when I need you most? David felt the old instinct flare. Defend, explain, reassure. He let it burn out on its own. David, I'm stepping away. Please don't contact me again. Her response came with venom this time. Amara, you'll regret this. Amara, you think you're the only one I talk to? Amara, I hope you can live with yourself. David blocked her. His hands shook as he did it, not with fear, but with release. The quiet after. The hours that followed were unbearable. No messages. No crises. No demands. Just the echo of what had been. David felt grief rise unexpectedly. Not for her, but for the version of himself who believed he was saving someone, for the meaning he'd attached to sacrifice, for the story he'd told himself about love arriving through suffering. He opened his banking app. The numbers stared back at him, unchanged. The damage was real. The silence was real. And for the first time, so was his understanding. Meanwhile, somewhere else, miles away, in another city, a woman named Lena stared at her phone in confusion. She had met him 3 weeks ago. He was gentle, soft-spoken, a nurse who worked long shifts and hated talking about himself. He said he was single, tired of games, looking for something real. He always sent photos in scrubs, hospital hallways, night shifts. Tonight, he'd sent a picture from work. Lena smiled, until something caught her eye. A reflection. Glass panel. Stainless steel surface. A hand. And on that hand, a wedding ring. Her stomach dropped. She zoomed in. Once. Twice. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't ambiguous. It was there. And suddenly, every excuse he'd ever given rearranged itself into something ugly and obvious. Her phone buzzed. Him. Long night. Wish I was home. Lena stared at the screen, heart pounding. Then she typed, Lena, who's the ring for? And just like that, another silence began. The ring haunted her. Not because it was shiny or gold, but because it made every word he had said suddenly suspicious. Every tender text, every carefully timed photo, every, I just want to be honest with you, now felt rehearsed, weaponized. She stared at the phone screen, thumbs hovering over the keyboard, heart racing. Why would a married man lie about this? She typed, deleted, typed again. Lena, who does that belong to? Minutes passed. Then hours. No reply. The silence was familiar. It reminded her of a story she had read online once, about women who fell for men who seemed perfect, who always had a crisis to justify absence or secrecy. She felt herself stepping into it, slowly, unknowingly. Finally, his reply appeared. Him. It's complicated. My ex. I haven't legally divorced yet. I didn't think it mattered. She stared. Lena. It matters. It matters a lot. Him. I didn't want to scare you. I care about you, Lena. Truly. Care. The word felt empty now, like a scarf pulled over something cold. She remembered the stories David would later tell himself. Helpless families, hospital emergencies, borrowed money that saved lives. She had just seen the same tactic, slightly altered, in real time. And she had fallen for it. Meanwhile, David tried to reclaim his life. The first week after blocking Amara had been agony. Sleep came in fragments, shadows lurking in corners of his mind. But by the second week, he began noticing small things. A quieter apartment, fewer distractions, space to think. He avoided banking apps, social media, and news about family crises. He didn't reach for his phone the instant it buzzed. And yet, Amara lingered in his thoughts. Her manipulations weren't just emotional. They were intellectual. He had been trained to anticipate every crisis, every plea, every pause. His mind replayed it like a labyrinth, every echo sharper than before. He knew now that her "I love you" wasn't a gift. It was a tool. Intertwining scams. David's story and Lena's would eventually cross, but not yet. The audience sees the pattern forming. Two different predators, one emotional, one visual, both exploiting human instincts the same way. Lena, in her kitchen, stared at the wedding ring in the reflection of her coffee machine. She had never met him in person. She hadn't given money yet, but she almost had. David had given everything, and paid dearly. Both victims shared something the scammers depended on: empathy. The first scammer relied on vulnerability and guilt. The second relied on trust and desire. Both preyed on patience, attention, and the illusion of intimacy. The first confrontation. David decided he couldn't just fade into oblivion. He wanted closure, or at least a record of reality. He found a photo of Amara he had saved early in the scam. She looked tired, beautiful, scared. The exact photo that had pulled him in. He uploaded it to a reverse image search. Results: dozens of profiles, dozens of stories, none connected to hospitals, none connected to emergencies, none connected to Amara's pleas. One profile stood out, a social media account in another country, posting everyday life, vacations, dinners, friends, smiling. David's stomach churned. He texted, "David, can we meet? I need answers." No reply. Hours later. "David, I need the truth." Nothing. It was finally undeniable. The pattern had been perfected, rehearsed, and repeated countless times. He wasn't special. He hadn't been chosen. He had been targeted. The escalating danger. Both scammers sensed vulnerability in their victims. Amara escalated her stories, her crises becoming urgent again, trying to provoke guilt or action. The male nurse scammer's silence after the wedding ring revelation was deliberate, waiting to see if Lena would overstep, beg, or rationalize. Both women's lives, David and Lena, were hanging in limbo, emotionally manipulated by invisible forces. And the hooks. They worked because the victims believed they were helping, loving, protecting. That instinct, usually a virtue, became the trap. David didn't know her name yet. He only knew the familiar trap, a voice behind a screen, soft, urgent, believable. Someone needing help. Someone in crisis. Someone who promised love if he just held on. Lena didn't know his story either. She only knew the man she had trusted was married, or so he claimed, and that the ring in the photo had shattered her illusions. Both were victims. Both were being manipulated. And now, unknowingly, their paths were about to cross. David meets the pattern again. It began with a forum. A casual thread about online dating scams. David had avoided these spaces, afraid he would see himself in other people's failures. But that night, he typed, "Has anyone experienced someone who constantly needs money and crisis updates?" Scrolling down, he froze at a post. He calls himself a nurse. Sweet, caring, attentive. But I noticed a wedding ring in one photo. Something isn't right. I'm scared I'm imagining it. David's heart skipped. The language. The pattern. The phrasing. He clicked the user's profile. Lena. She was quiet, reserved. Her last posts hinted at worry, confusion, suspicion. She hadn't given money. She hadn't confessed. Yet her words were desperate for clarity. Familiar territory. David felt a strange, icy connection. Another victim. Lena's discovery. Meanwhile, Lena had been researching him, her own instincts firing after the ring incident. She had compared photos, timelines, subtle inconsistencies. And now, on a discussion board, she noticed a story. Someone, David, described a woman named Amara, claiming emergencies, pleading for help, thanking him with what felt like love, draining his savings. Lena's hands shook. It was exactly the manipulation she had been experiencing. She realized then, she wasn't just being lied to. She was in a system. A pattern. A machine designed to exploit trust. The first exchange. David sent her a private message on the forum. David: "Hi, I think we might be dealing with the same person, or a similar scam." Lena hesitated. Her instinct: don't trust another person online. But something about his post, the pain, the careful observation, was familiar. She replied, "Lena, I think you're right. There's a man I've been talking to. Says he's single, a nurse, works long hours." The confirmation hit David like a punch. David: he's lying. The patterns match exactly. They began exchanging timelines, photos, messages, everything they had saved. With every revelation, the puzzle pieces began snapping into place. The male nurse scammer exposed. Lena sent David the photo with the wedding ring. David stared. A sick, heavy recognition sank in. He remembered the calculated timing, the rehearsed pauses, the carefully measured crises he had endured with Amara, and realized the male scammer worked the same way. Lena explained. He sends photos from hospitals. He avoids video calls, citing privacy or emergencies. He creates small, escalating crises to keep her emotionally invested. He uses small acts of kindness and attention to hook empathy. David's stomach twisted. It wasn't just Amara. It wasn't just him. These scammers were professionals. Their playbooks were precise. And Lena was proof that patterns repeated. The plan. David and Lena began coordinating cautiously, aware that the scammers could be monitoring online forums. They compared notes. They tested responses. They documented inconsistencies. They blocked, unblocked, observed. The predators assumed isolation was key, but the two victims discovered power in numbers. David typed, "David, we need proof. Photos, messages, anything that confirms who they are and what they've done." Lena agreed. "And once we have it, we expose them." It felt dangerous. Exposing a scammer often provokes desperation. But both had already lost too much to stay silent. Amara strikes one last time. As David and Lena shared information, Amara, or rather the woman behind Amara, sent one final message to David's old phone number. "David, I thought you loved me. Don't walk away. You'll regret this. You know I've never lied to you." "Not really." The words were venom and bait, all at once. David didn't reply. But Lena saw it too. The same patterns. The same emotional manipulation. For the first time they were prepared. Not afraid. Not hoping. Not defending love. Prepared. David sat at his desk, laptop open, fingers hovering over the keyboard. His heart was still racing from the forum messages he had exchanged with Lena. For the first time in months, he didn't feel like a victim. He felt like a hunter. Lena was on the line too, voice low and urgent. "Lena, are you ready to do this?" David: "Ready as I'll ever be." They had gathered everything. Screenshots, voice notes, timelines, photos, even the metadata from images that showed when and where they were taken. Every inconsistency, every lie, every desperate plea for money was catalogued. "Lena, we can't confront them directly yet. Too risky. They'll disappear or escalate." David: "We document. We expose. We hit them with truth in a way they can't escape." Amara's final attempt. Meanwhile, Amara, or the woman behind her, sensed something was wrong. She had been watching David online, noticing his sudden absence and the patterns he was checking. She tried one last emotional strike. A voice note arrived on David's old phone. "David, please. Don't leave me. You're all I have. If you go now, everything we had. All of it was for nothing. David pressed play, listening once, twice, then deleted the message. David, text to Lena, she's desperate. But I don't care anymore. Lena, same here. Let's make it count. Setting the trap. They devised a plan to bait both scammers. Decoy messages. They would respond as if still vulnerable, as if willing to help. Metadata tracking. Each reply would be sent carefully, capturing IPs and timestamps. Verification challenge. They would request a live video call under the guise of needing proof of identity before sending money or help. Both predators had relied on control and isolation. Now, for the first time, the victims were in control. David, we do this carefully. One slip and they vanish. Lena, or they attack. The hunt begins. David sent a decoy message to Amara. I want to help. I need to see you, even briefly, before transferring anything. Just a call. Almost immediately, the 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then reappeared. Amara typed, I can't. I'm too busy. I don't have time for video calls right now. I'm scared if anyone sees me. David smiled faintly. Metadata was working. She was reacting exactly as predicted. Meanwhile, Lena confronted the male nurse scammer with her decoy. I'm worried about your health. Please, show me you're okay on video. The reply came quickly. I don't have a camera right now. Maybe later. I promise I'm fine. Each evasion, each delay, each tiny excuse was being documented, a web of evidence growing by the minute. The first crack. Late that night, David received a mysterious email. Subject: Stop digging. The body contained a single line. If you expose me, everything you've done for me means nothing. You'll regret it. Fear clawed at him for a second, but he remembered Lena's words. Prepared, not afraid. David forwarded the email to Lena. Lena, same here. They're panicking. That's good. David, this is the first real reaction. The close call. Amara attempted one final trick. She staged a medical emergency voice note. Her tone was trembling, urgent, heartbreaking. David, I'm at the hospital. It's bad. I need your help now. Please, don't ignore me. David and Lena stayed calm. They knew the pattern. They waited. They recorded. Metadata confirmed. The message came from a location hundreds of miles from any hospital she had ever claimed existed. David exhaled slowly. David, got you. Lena, both of them. All of them. David and Lena didn't rush. That was the biggest difference now. Before, urgency had always belonged to the scammers. Panic had been their weapon. Time pressure their leverage. But with the evidence complete, David and Lena slowed everything down. Predators hated that. The decision. They spoke late into the night, laptops open, screens glowing with folders labeled by dates, names, lies. Lena, if we confront them directly, they'll disappear. New names. New victims. David, and if we go public too fast, we lose control of the narrative. Silence stretched between them, not the manipulative kind, but the careful kind. The kind where consequences are weighed. Lena, what if we do both? David looked up. She continued, voice steady now. Lena, we give them one chance to respond. On record. We confront them with facts they can't deny. Whatever they say or don't say becomes part of the exposure. David felt a slow, unfamiliar sensation rise in his chest. Power. Not domination. Not revenge. Agency. Confronting Amara. David wrote the message carefully. No emotion. No accusations. Just reality. David, I know your real name. I know where the messages were sent from. I know the hospital stories were false. I'm documenting everything. You can explain now, or your silence will speak for you. He hit send. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then, typing dots. They stopped. Started again. Finally. Amara. You don't understand. This is how I survive. David read it twice. Not denial. Not remorse. Just justification. David. You stole from people who trusted you. Her reply came sharp, defensive. Amara. They gave it. I never forced anyone. David felt something inside him settle for good. David. You engineered fear. That's force. No reply. Minutes passed. Then a final message. Amara. If you expose me, you'll ruin my life. David didn't hesitate. David. You already ruined mine. This ends now. She went offline. And didn't come back. The nurse unmasked. Lena's confrontation was colder. She sent the photo. Zoomed in. Circled. Lena. Explain the ring. Explain why hospital metadata doesn't match your shifts. Explain why you're married. The response came faster than she expected. Him. You invaded my privacy. Lena laughed. Once. Bitterly. Lena. You invaded my trust. He tried a different tactic. Him. I was going to tell you. I just needed time. Lena. You had time. You used it to lie. A pause. Then. Him. What do you want? That question told her everything. Not I'm sorry. Not I was wrong. Just negotiation. Lena. I want you to stop. Another pause. Then. Him. There are others like me. You won't stop it. Lena's fingers were steady as she typed. Lena. Maybe not. But I'll stop you. She blocked him. Going public. The post went live 3 days later. Not sensational. Not angry. Methodical. David wrote his story in detail. How it began, how it escalated, how fear had been used as currency. Lena added hers. The nurse, the ring, the subtle grooming. They included screenshots, timelines, red flags. They didn't name the scammers outright, but they didn't protect them either. The response was immediate. Comments poured in. This happened to me. I thought I was the only one. Same voice notes. Same excuses. The story multiplied. David watched the thread grow, his chest tight with something close to awe. The shame he'd carried for months began to dissolve. Not because the damage vanished, but because it was finally seen. The aftershock. Within weeks, accounts linked to both scammers disappeared. Profiles deleted. Numbers changed. Digital footprints wiped. But it didn't feel like losing. It felt like containment. Lena received a message from a woman overseas. Same nurse. Same lies. Same ring. Hidden just out of frame. David received one from a man who recognized Amara's phrasing instantly. Patterns mattered. Truth traveled. What remained? Months passed. David still had debt. Healing didn't erase consequences. But he slept again. Lena started trusting herself again. Not blindly, not cynically, but clearly. They stayed in touch. Not out of trauma, out of respect. One night, Lena messaged. Lena. Funny how they thought silence was their power. David smiled. David. Turns out, silence only works when no one compares notes. The final image. David sat alone on his balcony one evening, city lights stretching endlessly below. His phone buzzed. A notification. Not a message. A comment on the post. Because of this, I didn't send the money. David closed his eyes. For the first time since that message at 2:13 a.m., time felt normal again, measured not in crises or countdowns, but in moments that belonged to him. And somewhere unseen, the scammers were already searching for new victims. But this time, the victims were watching back. Months had passed since the exposure. The city outside David's apartment never stopped. Sirens, taxis, the hum of nightlife. But inside, a fragile quiet had settled. For the first time in nearly a year, David woke without immediately checking his phone. Coffee brewed. Light spilled across the counter. He stared at the steam curling from his mug and realized he hadn't imagined the past months. None of it was a dream. Small moments felt revolutionary. Laughing at a colleague's clumsy joke at work. Paying attention to the smell of rain on concrete. Leaving his apartment door unlocked. Trusting the world a little more. Yet shadows lingered. Old instincts didn't vanish overnight. Every unknown number triggered a momentary spike of fear. Notifications from dating apps felt like potential traps. Even the simplest acts of generosity reminded him of Amara's manipulations. David. Some scars are invisible. They just change how you move through the world. He and Lena kept in touch. Not constantly, but deliberately. Their bond, forged in fire, was no longer about fear. It was about clarity, accountability, and vigilance. Chapter 2. Therapy and Reckoning. Both David and Lena sought professional help. Therapy was slow, methodical, frustrating at times, but necessary. David discovered that the scam preyed on his empathy, his protective instincts. He had always measured worth by what he could give, how much he could save others. The realization stung. Lena uncovered a different truth. Her anger had been a shield. She had mistaken bitterness for power, and now she understood the real cost of letting fear dictate choices. Together, they began reconstructing their mental landscapes. Each therapy session felt like unpicking years of subtle manipulation, questioning assumptions, and reclaiming personal agency. Chapter 3. Rebuilding Life. Life was not perfect. Debt remained from the loans David had taken. Late nights of anxiety left lingering health issues, and trust did not return instantly. But both had learned one vital lesson. They were stronger than the predators believed. David returned to work gradually, regaining focus. He reconnected with friends he had isolated himself from, even laughing freely at small jokes he once would have ignored. Lena started attending workshops and online forums dedicated to exposing scams, sharing her story publicly. Her sharp insight became a resource for victims who had no one else to turn to. Lena texted to David, "We can't save everyone, but we can stop some." David. "And that's enough. For now, that's everything." Chapter 4. Vigilance and Control. Old habits die hard. They both still monitored suspicious accounts online. Not obsessively, but strategically. Patterns emerged. Amara's phrasing. The male nurses staged crises. Reused images. Recycled lies. They realized the predators might try again. But now, David and Lena were no longer passive targets. They could spot deception early, disrupt it, and warn others. Occasionally, they received subtle messages, echoes of old scams. But each was a test of their vigilance. David's thoughts. Power isn't the absence of fear. It's knowing how to act despite it. Chapter 5. The Healing Network. David and Lena transformed their experiences into guidance for others. Public posts detailing signs of manipulation, emotional abuse, and financial deceit. Step-by-step instructions for safely documenting scams. Encouragement for victims to seek support, not silence. Responses poured in. This happened to me. I didn't know it was a scam. Because of your posts, I didn't send money. I thought I was alone. The satisfaction was quiet but profound. For every victim they reached, one more predator was less effective. Chapter 6. Lingering Shadows. Yet the world didn't reset. The scammers were gone, or so it seemed. Occasionally, David noticed new accounts with familiar phrasing. Lena received a message from someone overseas, describing a near-identical scheme. David and Lena didn't panic. They watched, documented, informed. They had control now. But a shiver of tension reminded them that predators never truly disappeared. They adapted, shifted, and waited for openings. Chapter 7. Quiet Resolution. One evening, David stood on his balcony. The city lights stretched endlessly below, neon and traffic painting ribbons across asphalt. His phone buzzed, not a message from Amara, not a new scam, but a comment on his forum post. Because of this, I didn't send the money. I would have been lost. David exhaled slowly. A weight lifted. For the first time in over a year, time felt normal. Not measured in crises, fear, or countdowns, but in moments that belonged to him. Lena messaged him. Lena. Funny how they thought silence was their power. David. Turns out, silence only works when no one compares notes. The predators were out there somewhere, but the victims had survived, adapted, and learned. And that was enough for now. Chapter 8. A subtle twist. In the quiet of the night, David's phone pinged with a new email from an unknown address. You think this ends here? You're wrong. Next time, it will be different. David smiled faintly, setting the phone aside. Not fear. Awareness. The game had changed. The players had too.